serve that nationality, we'll do for ourselves what needs to be done.
Keep thinking it's games, you already know these beasts kill you on camera, leave you niggas dead in the streets. You're still handcuffed and bloody, but no 911 calls. Bystander effect in full effect, so watching with y'all, mind blowing. Watching my people holding up traffic of innocent people. My people need to get their ass kicked. Marching and picketing is most cowardice and funkified, while dead bodies just multiply. Sisters killed in their cell, you claim it's hell you raised and burn down your own community, not one police station. You love pork chops, but I see no police bacon. And when it comes to revolution, most of y'all are faking.
All ethnic groups in this country understand they got a nationality. Because you answer to such stupid words like
Black lives don't matter, but you still claim black. Rather film someone get choked out, but won't choke back. And the one that uploads first face charges trumped up. What do you think will happen when President Trump's up? More killing and murders of stateless herbs. Hoods are concentration camps now, ghettos are burbs. Gun stores short on ammo, they're melting down church bells. Black seek shelter in temples where God doesn't dwell. That's why a foreigner can walk in and shoot up your service. Praying to invisible gods, give you the curses. You pray to relinquish, that's none of my business. I suggest you nationalize with the quickness. I suggest you study law, stop with the big shit. In your face I see them spray the pepperish liquid, then pouring white milk on your face. I thought that milk was the devil. Some weapons drown the noise level. Poise you rebel.
you answer to such stupid words like Negro and color and black. You have
The point that I'm making, blacks are mistaken. Call them highwaymen, not cracker pigs or bacon. Taking your tax dollars and riot gear, they relaxing. Cause in a black status, don't even think about a class action. Don't even think about rights being respected without getting injected. I see you infected. Then the same ones that violate the laws you re-elected. Your vote matters more than black lives feel disrespected. Control the Negroes, looks tested and perfected. That's why about being black I'm skeptic and left it. People are tripping, walking with arms like panthers who got nowhere in the 60s, so that's not the answer. And black leader, race war instigator puppets teach kill those who killed us as justice. But have they ever killed? I think not. If they did, it's hearsay, nobody to show. Yellow envelope, money in escrow, accounts overseas, not in democracies, living hypocrisies. It's all de jure mockeries, bureaucracies, vampiric, but most can't hear it. It's only the attitude, the regalia is not clan spirit. Until my people wake up, your struggle for rights continue, and your children all end up on the elite menu. You love text but delete the messages, more send you with no status. You're in the jurisdiction and venue of the same beast system you attempt to defeat. Only as Moors will you get them on the heels of their feet. Of the same beast system you attempt to defeat. Only as Moors will you get them on the heels of your feet.
the name of a people must relate them instantaneously to land, history, and culture. And anytime you call a people by their right name, anytime you call a people, name a people, and fail to relate them back to land, history, and culture, you have called them out of their name. There's no black man or black hole. There's nothing wrong with the word black. Nothing wrong with it at all. Only relate to a country. The name of every people in the world relate to country. And once you think instantaneously of land, you think of nationality.
I just got word, and people have been talking about it all day, that the bones of black children who were killed in the police bombing back in 1985, the Moore bombing, remember that, in Philadelphia. They said the bones of these black children who were killed in the police bombing are being used in Ivy League anthropology course. So black bodies, and I mean, I'm telling you, I thought about Billie Holiday's Strange Fruit. Today in 2021, black people are still strange fruit, and there are no regard for black bodies. And I'm hearing that they're putting a demonstration together to head on down there and demand the return of these black bones.
What the fuck you gonna do with bones right now? What are you gonna do with bones? Why are you demanding bones to get returned? This is the incompetent psychosis that our people have, right? This is the dumb stuff that these so-called nigger doctors and nigger leaders and whatever are pushing with our people. They're gonna go to some Ivy League school to go march on their fucking lawn to go talk about give them back some bones of some people. This is where our people are at. This is why we just cut everybody out. Because this is dumb. This is absolute incompetence, asinine behavior. How come the doctors, these black doctors or whatever, aren't telling you about? One will take note that all people mentioned, blacks, Indians, Latinos, Puerto Ricans, poor whites, do not include a de jure national name or title. All these words are descriptive chattel brands coined by Europeans as substitute parentage names and were forced as appellations on the indigenous people of the Americas and their own discards. All people bearing these labels are referred to as it. One common thread is evident. One common thread is evident. No nationality equals no rights and no human value. No nationality equals no rights and no human value. No nationality equals no rights and no human value. So, if no nationality equals no rights and no human value, why are these nigger leaders surprised that you get murdered in the streets if you call yourself black? Why are these nigger leaders surprised that Ivy League school is taking people's bones and using them in their class as experimentations for whatever? Why are they surprised? No nationality equals no rights and no human value. Period. But no, you don't want to hear what Moors are saying. You're going to listen to these nigger leaders keep telling you that you're black. When black is a descriptive chattel brand that keeps you in perpetual slavery. And then you're mad at Moors because Moors don't want anything to do with black people. No, we don't. Because we're not it. We're human beings. We have nationality. Telling me about go march on some Ivy school lawn to get some bones back? Are you guys fucking stupid? And F you to all you people too, Grand Sheik's not supposed to talk like that. Noble Drew Ali told these Moors, what you want me to do, kill you? You think he wasn't cussing people out? Noble Drew Ali threatened to kill Moors if they didn't do stuff right. Noble Drew Ali said his mom's not getting by if she doesn't do stuff right. You're talking about Grand Sheik shouldn't be doing whatever? Get the hell out of here. F all you people talking crazy. Don't talk crazy to me, because I'm not these Grand Sheiks that you guys are used to. Hominus, dominus, pray, backflip and all that stuff for Allah. They've been trying to pull that BS. Because I'm not the one. I'm not those Grand Sheiks that you guys are used to. Singing hymns to Noble Drew Ali and all that BS. Carry their fez in the temple in a bag. I'm not those ones. I'm baseball hat Grand Sheik. Don't even play around. People are full of shit. Full of shit. All these nigger leaders, all of them, full of shit.
Which they should. And so let me bring up, I'm sorry guys. Let me exit out of here. Let me exit out of here. So this is a picture you're looking at of the 1985 Move bombing, okay? And this incident happened on May the 13th, 1885. I'm sorry, I keep saying 1985. I was actually 4 at the time. And it was an incident that occurred in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Shout out to Brother Mike Africa, he was on the Truth to Power Talk last year. For those of you who've been keeping up with me, for over a year now, and I brought on the descendants of one of the, not one of these. It was a married couple, and they gave birth to Brother Mike Africa and siblings. And after the bombing, police bombing.
We're not even going that far. We're not even going that far.
Back in 1985, the Moore bombing. Remember that in Philadelphia? They said the bomb.
You think she doesn't know what's up? You call it Moore bombing? You think that was a mess up? That was a mess up. These people know exactly what's up, and they're playing you, and you don't see it because you're a dumbass. You don't study. You keep listening to these dumbasses. You keep listening to these dumbasses.
Bones of these black children who were killed in the police bombing are being used in Ivy League anthropology course.
Right? Anthropology course using the black children of the bombing in the course. Why? Let's find out why they're using it. Let's find out why. Since you people want to be dumbasses and you don't want to hear what Moors are saying, don't listen to Moors. Let's see what Vincent Woodard says. Consumption under the new slavery. The charming Sally frequently transports slaves from Africa to the Caribbean. As a result, Equiano spends a significant amount of time in Barbados, Montserrat, and other parts of the Caribbean, observing overseers whom he describes as human butchers, practicing their cruel trade. One of the first narrated examples of this cruelty is a Negro man staked to the ground and cut most shockingly. His crime involved being connected with a white woman who was a common prostitute. While staked to the ground, the overseer, bit by bit, cut off pieces each of his ears, prolonging what was already a horrific and unbearable punishment. It was common practice in the Caribbean to not only cut off the ears of slaves, but also broil them and make the slaves eat the broiled pieces as punishment. After they are whipped till they are raw all over, some put pepper and salt on them. Some drop melted wax on their skin. Others cut off their ears and constrain them to broil and eat them. In this way, the slave was made an accomplice to his or her own social consumption. In the 1700s, John Atkins, a surgeon in the British Royal Navy, recorded an insurrection that occurred aboard a slave ship. The captain and crew quelled the insurrection as a punishment the captured African persons eat human body parts before murdering them. 3 others, abettors, but not actors, nor of strength for it, he sentenced to cruel deaths, making them eat the hearts and liver of one of them killed. Rosalind Shaw observes that among conflicting cultural groups in the colonial era, such acts of auto-cannibalism reinforced the militarized and legislative authority of a dominant group. Not only do we consume you, the captain of the British Royal Navy conveys, but we also make you consume each other. You want to be dumbass. You want to be black and slaves and all that? Okay. No wonder they're taking your bodies and have them in Ivy League schools, parading them around. Because you signed up for that. Because you don't want a nationality. You don't want to hear what Moors are saying. You want to listen to these nigger leaders playing these emotional games with you. These Europeans aren't playing. They eat motherfuckers. All these slaves burning pictures that they like to show you on 125th Street and all that stuff, they were eating them. They don't just burn them and leave them there. They were burning them and cutting off limbs and taking that home for dinner. Oh, you want to be slaves still? All right. All right. The idea of a human butcher seems to apply expressly to this individual. Equiano does not go into detail about what is done with the flesh carved out of individuals that he leaves to the imagination. In the context of such occurrences, white men experienced a sense of deific power. Furthermore, Equiano makes a point of emphasizing that the master takes pleasure in this and other torturous activities to which he has clearly given much thought. It is easy to apprehend how such events conditioned and made humans into slaves. However, less ascertainable is the fount of meanings embedded in the master's pleasure-taking. The choice of the word pleasure rather than satisfaction or purpose, for example, cues the reader to the fact that this is an interchange of power, erotic energy, and soul. In Rituals of Blood, Consequences of Slavery in Two American Centuries, Orlando Peterson approaches this dynamic from the perspective of the enslaved person. Patterson analyzes Jim Crow lynching rituals as ancient sacrificial rites, cannibalistic feasts, and attempts to feed a deity of terror and appetite, usually referred to as quote-unquote God. Though my interest, like Patterson's, centers on the ritual behavior of whites and the construction of a deity, what I am more interested in are the specifics and the moral implications of whites creating themselves as deific agents. Shaw records that in the Gambia, at the turn of the 16th century, rumors of European consumption of slaves identified the trade with Christians as a form of predation. Debunking the idea of the Gambians as ignorant, uninformed Africans, Shaw notes that this was hardly a reaction of isolated Africans to sudden commercial contact with the outside world. Rather, through observance of and sustained contact with Europeans, the Gambians had come to regard the slave trade as a trade that fed the Christian appetite for consumption of humans. That was viewed as problematic. In other words, the Gambians ascertained in Christian ritual and deity a process of soul harvesting and soul hunger that coincided with the bodies Europeans had also come to claim and transport. If we accept the conclusion of Europeans as soul and body harvesters, then we have to wonder how Europeans might have used, commodified, and ingested the very African souls that they consistently claimed did not exist. In Sierra Leone, an African typically regarded the white man as purchasing him either to offer him as sacrifice to his god or to devour him as food. Again, Shaw notes that persons from Sierra Leone and other regions viewed the slave trade, big quotes. Again, Shaw notes that persons from Sierra Leone and other regions viewed the slave trade as a European ritual process that integrated the transport of African bodies across the Atlantic into a further set of transactions with the Europeans' god. The people of Niger even applied these notions of deity, deification, and consumption practices to the slave ship itself, describing it as some object of worship of the white man. These African-based perspectives bring into clear focus how European practices of soul harvesting and human consumption coincide with the more obvious economic motivations of the trade. These observances bring us back to the seemingly obvious question: what exactly did Europeans want with African persons? What deity and process of self-deification did the African soul and body feed? We cannot readily access these types of considerations through the Europeans' notion of their Christian practice. European Christianity advocates, at least overtly, the consumption of the divine, but not the consumption of another human being. The African-based perspectives of European Christian consumption inverts this logic, honing in on European religiosity, religious, ritual, deity, and self-making as a process based in appetite and human consumption. When the Africans spoke of Christians as human consumers, or of Christians as a religion based in human consumption, what they were observing and articulating were the Europeans' hungers, appetites, willfulness, greed, and titillation, all operating through an institutionalized context of spirit and soul edification. Africans, we might say, saw through the rhetoric of European spirituality to the real spiritual motivations informing the Europeans' relationship to the slave trade. Europeans would insist that they had come to offer something to the African soul, to nurture, tame, and sustain this wild entity. However, what many African groups quickly ascertained without the benefit of European literacy and theological learning was that, in fact, the European had come to harvest and spiritually ingest them. How come your nigger leaders aren't telling you about this? How come they keep calling you the names that makes you ripe for human harvest and spiritual consumption? Why are they calling you these names that keep you in this shadow status that allows you to be these people's food? How come you're not pulling them up on that, calling you black, which makes you be able to be consumed? Huh? How come? What saves Equiano from the fate of the common slave is his acknowledged difference. One master, he relates, said he did not mean to treat me as a common slave. I told him I knew something of seamanship and could shave and dress hair pretty well, and I could refine wines, which I had learned shipboard where I had often done it. By this point in the narrative, after his introduction to the new, more brutal form of slavery, Equiano understands well that only his usefulness and closer social proximity to affluent whites saves him from the consumptive fate of the common slave. Probably a combination of terror, rhetorical maneuvering, and genuine aesthetic appreciation of Europeans caused him to say, I no longer looked upon them as spirits, but as men superior to us, and therefore I had the stronger desire to resemble them, to imbibe their spirit and imitate their manners. This seemingly casual statement, strategically placed in the text, signals Equiano's transition from heathen, childish African to civilized Anglo-African adult. In order to gain greater authorial credence, Equiano professes to no longer believe that whites are spirits from a different realm of existence, spirits who are cannibalistic agents of a cannibalistic slave trade. Driving this point home, Equiano even depicts himself as an enlightened consumer who has learned from the European to imbibe their spirit and imitate their manners. You still don't get it? Oh, you're still confused? Okay. Equiano explains away such necessary cruelties in order to make such progress with his youth, especially in religion. When the young Equiano had been baptized in 1759 in a Westminster church, the presiding clergyman had given him the book titled A Guide to the Indians. European missionaries used this text, written by the bishop of the Diocese of Sodor of Man, to assimilate Native Americans into Christian faith and to justify genocidal actions taken toward Native groups that did not conform and assimilate. The same stuff that they're doing right now. The assimilators, right? The assimilators who call themselves Indian and who call themselves Native American and who say this is Turtle Island and who say that they're Black Indian and they're Chippewa and Cherokee and they're all these tribes. The assimilators, they don't have any issues with the European. They don't got any issues. They go out there, talk BS all day. 18 hours they're going to be on a live talking BS about some indigenous crap. As soon as more start talking up, they want to shut down YouTube pages. They want to kick you off Facebook. They want to fact check your posts on IG. They want to fact check your posts on Twitter. As soon as more start talking up. The Black Indians, oh, they can say whatever they want. How come? How come they could say what they want? Because they're assimilators. All the different black groups, Nation of Gods and Earths, Nation of Islam, Rastafarians, all of them playing black games, they're assimilationists. And once they assimilate, they're good to go at the European. European ain't bothering them. Only when it's time to eat. Only when the European's hungry and they don't want McDonald's anymore or whatever like that. You know, kill nigger and take his heart and take his organs. And then you're talking about, yeah, they're harvesting organs to go send them to Europe so that the queen could have a heart. No, they're eating you, you dumbass. They're eating you. That's what they're doing. You're looking at them sucking some bone and you're talking about chicken bone? Chicken bone's that big? What kind of chicken is that? What kind of chicken is that? No, it's not the Europeans that's sick. Don't blame them. Blame the people who set themselves up to be eaten. Because Europeans could eat each other if they really want, you know, but nobody wants white meat. Everybody wants dark meat. Everybody wants dark meat. Nobody wants white meat. Everybody wants dark meat. How come they want dark meat? How come there's no white chocolate bars? How come all chocolate bars look like a black man's dick? Mr. Big and all this. What do you think they're getting at? And then there you go, eating your Mr. Big, eating your Snickers. Eating your own dick like a dumbass. Put down the chocolate bar, dumbass. Why do you think Pepsi and Coke and all that stuff is brown? Why do you think it's brown for? When they used to liquidate you, nigger. Stupid dumbass. When they used to liquidate you. It's all in this book, Consumption of the Negro and all that stuff. You know they used to liquidate you? You know they used to strip you of your skin and turn it into oil? No, you didn't know? Oh, they only did that to the niggers. They only did that to the blacks and the Negroes and the slaves. They didn't do that to the civilized people. Everybody didn't get that treatment. You ever realize there's no yellow chocolate bars? There ain't nobody chopping off no Chinese guy's little wee-wee. Ain't nobody making no chocolate bars of that. They made toothpicks out of the Chinese guy's wee-wee. Keep playing games. Because these people aren't playing. Haven't been playing. Our people are playing. The slave trade as a soul trade. Within the closed circuit of Aquilino's Anglo-African logic, it is difficult to get at how it might have been possible for the European to consume the African soul, or for that matter, to get at a systemized understanding of the esoteric purposes to which the energy of the consumed body and soul might have been applied. You think KKK or whatever is some back country poor white? No, they have the science. Why do you think Pope and Queen and King and all that stuff, they're sleeping with little children and all that stuff? Suck their energy. I think all these pedophiles, Epstein Island and all that stuff, you think that's because they want to have sex with children or whatever? That's not what they're doing. It's a soul trade. These people are energy vampires. And then you just keep giving it up by calling yourself Negro, black, colored, and all these fictions. And then you're blaming them. And then not blaming yourself for being a dumbass. Then you stay over there with your dumbassness. Stay over there with your dumbassness. Don't bring that BS over here. But we've been told you. 100 years we're telling you clowns. You're not Negro, black, colored. You still being Negro, black, colored today? Then take all the misuses, abuses, mistreatments, and all the stuff that society wants to put on your dumb ass. Because you don't want to hear what Moors are saying. No problem. Don't. Stay Rastafarian. Stay black power. Stay nation of gods on earth. Stay black Asiatic. Stay over there. Stay Garveyite and all that. Stay over there. Don't bring up Moors. Don't talk about Moors. You just keep getting your nigger treatment. 19th century American whites, whom I discuss at length in the next chapter, also attempted to apprehend the implications of Christian cannibalism, but found such a notion a philosophical and ontological impossibility. Equiano comes from a world in which man-eaters and witchcraft are components of a complex science of human behavior and moral interaction. Just as Enlightenment discourses policed and ensured moral behavior and civilized populace, African witchcraft belief also maintained the moral and individual center of a society. In actuality, witches or cannibals were not literal flesh eaters. They were individuals who drew off of human life force, causing their victims to weaken physically, become ill, and sometimes die. Anthropologist Wyatt McGaffrey recorded this millennium-old belief in Central Africa. Through his field research in the Congo in the 1960s, he learned that the Congolese had long associated the transatlantic slave trade with soul theft and witchcraft. Oh, soul theft and witchcraft? Soul theft. Well, not body theft? Oh, soul theft. Okay, so if the transatlantic slave trade is about soul theft, not the bodies, then what do they need these boats and stuff like that for, bringing people over here? What do they need that for? Obviously, it's a fiction. Because you already know the soul resides in the mind. So if the soul's in the mind, and then our people are in the mental slavery right now, doesn't that mean that their soul's been caught? The soul catchers got them? Especially if they're calling themselves Negro, black, colored, African, Garveyite, nation of gods of earth, Hebrew, Israelite, or whatever. You definitely know that the soul catchers got them. It's not even up for question because they don't have a nationality. So obviously the soul catchers got them. And their psychology is European. They're not thinking for themselves. They're socially engineered to think. Wyatt McGaffey. In this aspect, therefore, witchcraft is similar, as a European would say, to slave trading. It is not clear, however, that Bakongo make any distinction between the two. Repeated contemporary references to 19th century trade, the slaves in particular, show it is regarded as a trade in souls. Some of the techniques used are identical. Informants recall, and written sources confirm, the slave catchers used to leave food so that the hapless travelers finding it and picking it up might be seized for debt and sold. Modern witches are supposed to leave money in the road for the same purposes. According to Bakongo cosmology, the soul is luminous, like a shining star. The soul is the seat of good health, and when it is undisturbed, the body flourishes. The soul should be round like the sun, but witchcraft attacks may cause it to crumble at the edges, rendering the body vulnerable. Witches may suck or draw off all or part of the soul, depriving all or part of the body of its inner essence, so that in a short time it will be seen to sicken or die. Europeans who first encountered Africans questioned the nature of the existence of an African soul. This was partially racial prejudice, but also a reflection of the very different ways Europeans and Africans defined the nature and origins of the soul. Within European Enlightenment discourses, the soul is a lofty thing. A soul distinguished upright man from the animals who crawled on all fours. The soul was immaterial, connected to religion, the best cultivated within the higher realms of civilization. The iridescence of the soul was connected to white skin, and the origins of the soul rooted in the sky. God descended from the heavens to breathe soul into Adam and Eve. According to Descartes, the difference between the human and animal soul was that the human soul granted mankind higher order thinking and moral consciousness. In this philosophical and religious context, it would have been nearly impossible for the most well-intentioned European to see in Africans a soul categorically similar to their own. The denial of the African soul would be the subject of philosophical and theological debates for centuries. However, a large portion of this debate went to justify a simple political end: profit and gain through the enslavement of humans. Europeans among themselves needed ideological justification for their heinous and vile mistreatment of Africans. When Africans such as Equiano, Cugoano, and Phyllis Wheatley, among others, first argued their humanity to whites, they began always with the issue of the soul. Equiano's entire narrative is testimony and proof of the existence of a civilized soul. His initial desire to learn the Bible, his series of religious conversations, his romantic Christian friendships, and his eventual missionary posts he held in West Africa are all offered as evidence of a soul equal in moral aptitude and reasoning capabilities to the Europeans. Yet the irony of Equiano's argument for his human soul was that he made it to imperialist institutions and Anglophone society that had a fundamentally immoral relationship to Africans and Africa. None said it better than the English gentleman Charles Dickens when he referred to the African savage as something highly desirable to be civilized off the face of the earth. That's how they think about you niggers when you don't have a nationality. Still today, in Sierra Leone, the conviction that slaves carried away in the Atlantic trade were eaten by Europeans persists. This conviction had many strands of belief, which involved 1. The Europeans sacrificing the African to his god, 2. The traded African serving as a literal food source for European slavers, and 3. The slave being used as a trade commodity between cannibals or witches. Not just European foreigners were accused. In Sierra Leone in the 18th and 19th centuries, it was common to find a powerful chief who had stepped out of bounds of moral human existence, accused of being a cannibal. In such contexts, coastal Africans associated cannibalism with unhealthy social functioning. The cannibal was a person who fundamentally threatened the well-being of the community. Such persons were thought to literally and symbolically consume land, the ability to prosper and grow from the land, the people, and the very chiefdom itself, in the case of chiefs accused of cannibal behaviors. Numerous African groups guarded against the emotional states of extreme anger, greed, envy, jealousy, and hatred because such feelings were thought to have cumulative, unseen power that acted negatively upon the individual and community. Hence, Jualis learn to love instead of hate. Usually, a ceremonially sanctioned person who had the power to guard against cannibals in the community received training in the science of dream interpretation, wherein cannibalism that occurred in dream spirit was an indicator of imbalance in an individual and community. Europeans who first encountered Africans and later European colonizers stationed in Western and Central Africa habitually interpreted the African sciences of human cannibalism literally, going out to look for cannibals and for particular objects or slipping off skins that could be found only in spirit or in the dreamtime realm of emotional causation. What differing African persons and groups universally recognized in Europeans whom they accused of being cannibals was a state of greed, gluttony, appetite, jealousy, and anger, and that had reached dangerous, unchecked psychic and spiritual proportions. To dismiss Africans' observances that Europeans were cannibals as a myth and superstition is to miss this very valuable and poignant insight into human capacity and immoral potential implicit in most indigenous African cosmologies and esoteric sciences of human consumption. It was not at all inconceivable, according to such a worldview, that slave masters could create themselves into deities and that slave ships that gorged themselves until full could operate as part of a larger network of institutions wired to a deceptive human need for consumption. This African notion of consumption under slavery as a fundamentally moral problematic overlapped with a similar concern voiced in the 19th century U.S. religious and political spheres. Ironically, at the same time that Africans struggled to translate their understandings of European cannibalism, so too were white and black Americans beginning to craft a collective language and ideology of human consumption under slavery. The delectable Negro, not the delectable Moor, because they don't eat Moors. Not the delectable God of the earth and all that stuff. The delectable Negro. And Negro translates to black. So anybody who calls themselves black, they're delectable to these people. Are you Negro, black, or colored? Are you African and all that stuff? If you're claiming that, then know that 20 years from now, your bones might be in some Ivy League college too, because you wanted to be part of the human consumption. instead of being part of humanity. Nationality is the order of the day. Hands down. And if you think that these nigger doctors and these nigger leaders who are calling you black aren't setting you up for your soul to be consumed, you have another thing coming after your soul's consumed. Guarantee your soul's going to be consumed. We're not assuming, we're telling you that you're going to be consumed. Either your soul's going to be consumed, or they're going to be cutting off your ears, cutting off your dick and all that stuff, and eating that. Cutting off your clitoris, cutting off your breasts, grounding it up and calling it ground beef. And then you're going to go buy. Because you don't want to follow your ancient foremothers and forefathers. You want to be niggers. And then get mad at people who don't want to be niggers, who don't want to be part of the human consumption and the homoeroticism and all this other stuff that they're doing. And you get mad at us. As if your human consumptive position is a position to have. Your chattel brand position is a position to have. Your no rights and no human value position is a place where our people should be. All right, if you think that, then you go right ahead. You go right ahead. We have no intention of my nieces being these people's nigger, being these people's guinea pig. No intention whatsoever. No intention of anybody who I know that they're going to be these people's guinea pig and nigger. So keep in mind, it just dropped 3 days ago. It just dropped. Let's see what the niggers are going to do. Let's see what the niggers are going to do. Since they found out that the Ivy League colleges are taking people's bones and using them in the anthropology courses. Let's see what they're going to do.
So black bodies, and I mean, I'm telling you, I thought about Billie Holiday's Strange Fruit. Today in 2021, black people are still strange fruit, and there are no regard for black bodies. And I'm hearing that they're putting a demonstration together to head on down there and demand the return of these black bones, which they should. And so let me bring up, I'm sorry, guys. Adventures in Forensic Anthropology focuses on lost personhood cases where an individual cannot be identified due to the decomposed condition of their remains. It uses as its main study the events of May 1985, producing as prime evidence a set of bones belonging to a girl in her teens retrieved from the ashes of the moved house at 1622 Osage Avenue in Pennsylvania.
Keep in mind, how come they're calling themselves Africa this and Africa that when the house was on Osage Avenue, and Osage is an indigenous word? Look up Osage. Look up the origin of Osage Avenue. Indigenous tribe that used to walk that street, and that's why they named that street Osage. But they're coming over there talking about they're African. And then they're mad that they got bombed. You mad that you got bombed? Don't be mad. You set yourself up for that. Because how are you African, but you're living on an indigenous street? And then how are you African and you're calling yourself John and Patty and all this crap? Which puts you right in the jurisdiction of these individuals who are human consumers. You're only playing yourself. Keep playing. You're going to learn. If you don't learn, then your children aren't going to learn. And then their children aren't going to learn, which is why, we have all these generations of unlearned people around right now. Because the noble prophet, Noble Drew Ali, told us in the 1920s that we're not Negro, black, colored. Why? Because these names were given to slaves by slaveholders. Now we realize that these weren't slaveholders, these were soul catchers. These weren't slave masters, these were soul masters. People who didn't have a soul of their own, so they wanted yours. And then you gave it up to them because you don't want to have a nationality. And then you're going to talk BS about Noble Drew Ali in 2021 like this is some joke that people are getting murdered in the street with no remorse. And people's bones that they found in ashes from Move 9 bombing is being used in Ivy League colleges right now. Right now, anthropology course right now in Ivy League colleges, and then you just found out about that. Well, how much other stuff that they got in there that you worried about some Move 9? That was 80s. Ivy League college has been around for centuries. They didn't just start yesterday. So keep playing. You're going to learn. If you're not going to learn from Moors, then you're going to learn from pain. If you're not going to learn from Moors, don't worry. Pain is a great teacher. You stub your toe on that thing. I bet you move that thing so you don't stub your toe again. Bet you. You pulled a sharp knife out playing Chef Django, and you cut your finger off. I bet you stop playing games from pain. Bet you. You don't brush your teeth, get a cavity, make them have to remove them teeth. I bet you stop eating candy like a dumbass. You're gonna learn. Honors to all the Moors worldwide. Peace and love to all the Moors worldwide. And anybody who's in support of Moors, honors to you. And all you traitors, FOH and GTFOH. And every other FOH that you could get if you're a traitor. Actually, I'll give you something. We'll give you something to close out. We'll give you something. Peace and love to all the Moors.
Yeah. 1, 2, 1, 2. Check, check. You already know what it is. Moorish MC. Yeah, yo. All praise due to Allah, no bow ties. On my tracks, rappers get the warp speed blow bars. Stay in my lane around corners, one man, no eyes, Cyclops Bay. Covenant not new like polites. Running a fraud, you paid 4,300. Lord, this in the legend. Typical coon and reverence. But people support getting played, robbed for birthrights. It's not about fiat, your energy quenches their thirst, right? Vampires and warlocks speak with finesse in their speech. Subconscious mind traps won't release, detecting a breach. They diss and they profit, Drew Ali, they diss and they creed. Before you follow dirty Moors, listen to me. Every Moor is not your bro, most of them sold out. Axe Khalid, Malcolm, Shabazz, and the ones that know about getting stabbed in their back for talking about rights. Minus the civil, notwithstanding, like a cripple. You better think nowadays, fam, use your head. The only savior is you, the priesthood is dead. You better think nowadays, fam, use your head. The only savior is you, priesthood is dead. You better think nowadays, fam, use your head. The only savior is you, priesthood is dead. You better think nowadays, fam, use your head. The only savior is you. Middlemen come calling themselves prophets and God sense, claiming they're sovereign, following hillbilly nonsense, saying Moors are wrong, taking things out of context. Stupidity of conscious blacks is an inferior complex, following leaders that won't go with you off the cliff. lying about slavery and even about slave ships, robbing the ignorant, saying papers filed federal under the jurisdiction of attorney generals, claiming straw men for credit in a debt system. Yes, bonds from the treasury are really from the IMF. I am just saying what I see from the conscious, begging for donations while acting obnoxious with no solutions. 1500 for service products that cost 50 cents to print. These black devils are off their rockers. They don't feel awkward giving state ID to coppers. Highwaymen think killing the bay is gonna stop us. You better think nowadays, fam, use your head. The only savior is you. Priesthood is dead. You better think nowadays, fam, use your head. The only savior is you. Priesthood is dead. You better think nowadays, fam, use your head. The only savior is you. Priesthood is dead. You better think nowadays, fam, use your head. The only savior is you. Priesthood is dead.
We declare our rights on this earth to be a man, to be a human being, to be respected as a human being, to be given the rights of a human being in this society, on this earth, in this day, which we intend to bring into existence by any means necessary.
Black History Month you find ridiculous.
You're going to relegate my history to a month? Oh, come on. What do you do with yours? Which month is Black History Month? Well, come on.
Well, I'm Jewish.
Okay. Which month is Jewish History Month?
There isn't one.
Oh. Why not? Do you want one?
No.
I don't either. I don't want a Black History Month. Black history is American history.
How are we going to get rid of racism?
Stop talking about it. I'm going to stop calling you a white man. And I'm going to ask you to stop calling me a black man.